Welcome back to Summa Our Vegas. I'm your host, Renee Summer Our. Our next guest is an award-winning mental health advocate. He's also an author and a mental hope speaker. He's a mentor. He's a consultant who devotes his life to promoting hope, raising mental health awareness and suicide prevention awareness, and offering resiliency strategies to youth, parents, and educational institutions. His exceptional work in mental health advocacy and community mentorship has earned him numerous accolades for organizing mental health events through his Heart to Give organization, which is his nonprofit. Let's welcome Brandarius Johnson to the show. What's going on, friend?
How you doing? I'm doing well. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. I bumped into you at the mall, or at the gym, I should say, the other day, and we were both kind of shocked to see each other there because it's like we both go to the gym and we didn't see each other. But it's been good to see you. How are things?
Things are going well. Things are busy, and it was a shock to see you. You know, I haven't been in the gym much myself, but it was good to see a familiar face getting back in there.
Yeah, that's right. So I like to ask our guests how we met because I like to hear the story from your point of view. So do you remember?
So actually, from talking about it, I do remember. It was a rally, I want to say. That's an appropriate response.
Mm-hmm.
It was a rally.
Yeah,
for teachers in CCSD, and you know, I just bumped into you. To be completely honest, saw a melanated individual and thought, you know what, I got to introduce myself, especially somebody that's in media. I felt like I have something to talk about that could impact people. So, you know, that's what initiated my approach.
Yeah. When we had our first discussion, it was interesting because the rally was about the safety of teachers and the mental health of students, especially after the pandemic and just all the things that were happening in local schools. And so you were a breath of fresh air to speak with because you were on the mental health side, but for the students, which is something that we are really lacking in CCSD schools.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my first question to you is, tell us just a little bit about your story and how you got involved specifically in youth mental health.
So, you know, I'll just be completely frank. My journey in mental health or advocating started June 27th of 2014. Lost a close friend to suicide, and in that moment, it's become something that I dedicated my life to. My exact thought was, every day is day one. Meaning yesterday was gone, and I wasn't sure if there would be a tomorrow for me, so I just knew that the time that I had to do, you know, what I felt was right, and that's advocate. I spent my life chasing a ball dream. You know, NFL was what I thought I would be doing for my life, but clearly God had other plans, and it kind of worked perfectly because everything that I talk about now as far as encouragement and resilience, it all stems back to football and the ups and downs of playing a sport, injuries, adversities, you win some, you lose some, all of those type of experiences, you know, really prepared me for the life that I'm living now.
Absolutely. There was a report that I was reading about that I wanted to go over with you, and this report comes from the Clark County Children's Mental Health Consortium. It's a 2021 study for the state. The numbers haven't changed very much, but it states that Nevada has consecutively ranked 51st for youth and mental health access and services in national reports. And though there have been some improvements over the last 10 years, these changes haven't been significant enough to increase our rankings. What are you doing with your foundation, Heart to Give, and just in your everyday work, with which I'm literally seeing as we speak? Yeah. Schools calling you, crisis. We have a student in this crisis situation. What do we do? How are you helping to decrease this number of mental health access for youth?
So, you know, great question. And from my perspective, with most of my experience being lived experience, like I'm not a clinician, but I do think just being able to meet students where they are and educators, because you know, when you get to the bottom of just life and people outside of credentials, whether it be a youth or a teacher or administrator, we're all people. We all have emotions. We all have things going on. So that's kind of my approach. And then, you know, utilizing my program, Be the Hope, a 12-week social emotional program, where my goal is to give students the skills to communicate effectively, talk about how they're feeling, but also identify how other people are feeling. So it's like self and social awareness. And what that does for a person, when we talk about resilience, if a kid is upset at 7:50 a.m., that shouldn't consume the rest of your day. So at 7:50, you're upset, I need you to process what's going on. By 7:55, I need you to be back and ready to work. And that's kind of what it is. And building trust and being able to have them feel comfortable enough to come to you, I think that starts with just your desire to actually be an impact or be a front line or be an educator or a parent or whatever hat you wear when dealing with people. That relationship building is going to be one of the most important aspects of it.
And you, just to be more specific, you have done some amazing work by bringing your book and like a specific program to the school. Tell us a little bit about how you're incorporating your program so that counselors and teachers can effectively combat this.
So the way my program was written, as well as my book, is to be an easy read or easy activity. Nothing that takes too much effort. Is really more so about the mindset and desire. For example, activity number 1 is called Born with a Purpose. And it's the first question is, who are you? It starts with just looking in the mirror beyond the title of mom, dad, son, brother. Who are you as a person to your core? And then once we know who you are, then we can start working on things that you aspire or wish to do in your life. And what it looks like is, if I know as a young kid my goal was to play football, why am I spending my time doing basketball workouts? In other words, when you know your purpose and you know your assignment, then you take your steps that are leading towards your purpose and not anybody else's. And how that helps with peer negativity or being peer pressured. If you know that your goal is to be a high school or middle school athlete or a collegiate athlete, you can't be running the streets and doing things that people are doing in the streets. So I just wanted to make it something that they can connect to, something they can relate to, see themselves in, and believe in. So it all stems with just building that foundation where they can express without judgment. And that is called Born with a Purpose, and that's just chapter 1.
It's amazing because I think even sometimes parents don't know the right questions to ask their children, because I think at that age, I mean, both of you, anybody can relate. Like, we never were asking ourselves,
Right.
what's our purpose in
Absolutely.
middle school and high school.
Right.
I think the only purpose we had was being accepted.
Absolutely.
Finding those groups that we related to, finding groups of peers that we felt like could relate to us in some way. And fitting that mold of that group. It's not really until you leave high school and become more of an individual where you really have to start processing, who am I and what do I want to be? But when you don't have the mentorship to give you those questions from an earlier age, you're kind of just going where your peers seem to be going, because that seems to be the right path, but you don't know yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're doing amazing work, and that's
Appreciate
why when you and I talked, and me getting involved in your organization, because with everything we've been seeing post pandemic, with the fighting and the suicide, school shootings, I think that your program is more important now than it ever has been before, and with that there comes kind of a manual that now parents have to start reading and start recognizing where their kids are lacking and why, because all of this affects attendance, which we are having a crazy, every school in the nation is having a problem with attendance.
Yep. Focus.
Focus, respect.
Man.
Teachers are fighting students,
Yeah.
like really fighting students in the schools. There was just a law passed in Tennessee that's going to allow teachers to have firearms, which some people love. Some people are absolutely afraid because they don't want to be on the front lines.
Right.
And students are people too.
Absolutely.
They can go crazy. They can have lapses of judgment. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, so with everything that you're doing, how are you helping the parents and the counselors and the teachers work through their mental health?
So I'm working on building a community called the Educators Union of Hope, which my goal is to combat the burnout rate of educators. And I believe from K to 12, it's about, I want to say 44%, and then for professors, it's like 35%. But I think if we can reach the educators or those that are on the front line, then we have a better chance of reaching the students at scale. So in so many ways, I spent so much time focusing on the students. Now it's like if we can support the educators as well as the students, then maybe we can bridge that gap and kind of help repair that disconnection between administrators and teachers, and then the gap between teachers and students. And then hopefully that information will start to trickle downhill to where students can start to relay that same inspiration and kind of encouragement to their parents. And that's something that I personally advocate for. Like you said earlier, we weren't really asked questions about purpose. I'm talking to kids and asking them, how they feel, from 0 to 10, 0 being the worst, 10 being the best, and then asking, when's the last time you asked your mom that or your dad that or whoever is providing care and concern for you? Because I think we forget that the people that take care of us may not have anybody taking care of them. So even just, encouraging the kid or even making them aware of what gratitude looks like and what respect looks like, I think then we have a better chance of kind of, moving the ball a little bit forward, towards progression in a big scale.
We all need mental health therapy,
Absolutely.
even parents, because like you said, a lot of times parents will direct their children in more of a militant fashion and disregard what's going on in here. And so they feel like they really have no one to speak to, whether it be
Right.
at home or at school. And if they're being bullied, that's another element. If they can't focus, that's another element.
Right. No sleep,
No sleep. It's just
self identity, hygiene. Like there's so many. Being in the foster care industry, I'm starting to see that before this, mental health was like, or mental illness was just the depression and just suicide and anxiety. But I'm starting to see now that, clothing is a crisis for some kids whose whole life is in a duffel bag and not having, clean socks or even a pair of shoes that fit. Like all of these things, I think can have a negative or positive impact on a person. If you got a nice outfit, you smell good, you feel good about yourself. It's just like they said with Nike. If you feel good, you look good, you play good. Well, for these kids, it's just being able to feel good enough in the clothes that they have, coming from, a place like Child Haven where, the shirt you wear on Wednesday gets pushed through laundry and then you may never see that shirt again, but you see a kid that has it on. So those are kind of things that I'm starting to realize, that mental health or mental illness is sometimes a lot more than what we say to ourselves, what we see. And like you said, how parents are more militant with their kids. We can't really see the issue all the time with plain eye. Sometimes you got to have the conversation and just kind of look back and see if the basic needs are met. And it's a lot easier said than done. It just takes patience. I mean, a lot of patience and sometimes being able to see past what we expect from them. For example, it's something as simple as having a kid make their bed. But what about if that kid has never slept in a bed? So you expecting them to make it where they're like, this is completely foreign. It's almost like speaking a language that they don't understand. So, as I'm growing through my journey to become, just a person that can make a positive impact, I'm learning that the best thing we can do is just assess the kids and assess the situations that they come from and being able to to deal with them and coach them. And I believe in being firm and fair.
yeah.
Like, there's kids who are of the system and they know how to manipulate. But I'm like, if I can watch you and observe you and I know I'm giving you everything that it says that you should have, food, shelter, love, then we can work through some of the things that you're telling me that are triggers or where you've been traumatized. Let's get to the bottom of it. And, I think you just got to have the desire and be willing to stand in the fire because it's going to get hot.
So let's switch over now to something a little bit more positive because this is really deep and you and I could talk about
Absolutely.
how we fix the world all day. But since we ran into each other at the gym, what's on your playlist right now that just keeps you motivated, keeps you going? Because like you said, the hand that feeds the most gets bitten the most. And I'm sure your hand is ratted-tatted with all kinds of bites and scars.
Absolutely.
And you got to keep yourself motivated. So
Absolutely.
what's something in the gym right now that you're listening to that just keeps you in your mindset of motivation and inspiration?
So right now what I'm listening to right now is Mozzie, Child of the Slums. Just because it's new and I like the way Mozzie presents his story and shares his experiences through lyrics. But overall, I listen to, Rod Wave and Nipsey Hussle the most just because I can kind of, feel, their journey and experience through, what they're sharing, that they too had a journey that was full of ups and downs. And I think that's what keeps me motivated, knowing that you're not the only one that has felt pain or been scared or even been ready to give up on your mission or whatever you're building. So just like, the mental hustle continues. That's something that keeps me going, just like, my everyday is day one. And I can listen to the same music on repeat, because my goal is to finish what I came there to get done.
Amen. Amen. All right. Tell the people how they can follow you and how they can get involved.
So Day One Ambition. It's pretty simple on Instagram, Day One Ambition, or Brandarius Johnson on Facebook. And you know, I feel like each of us need all of us, and if what I'm doing is something you'd like to be a part of, then just send a message and let's get to it.
He's also looking for a social media manager. He just told me, guys. So if any of you are really savvy with social media, he needs the help. He needs someone to help spread his message because I think it's so important. So get in that DM, help your brother out because he needs the help.
For sure.
Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy I ran into you the other day, and I'm just really happy that I got you on the podcast because I feel like, no, I know that what you're doing is God's work, and we need a Brandarius in every state, in every school district, with every teacher, because what you are providing is just so valuable in so many ways, especially with the climate to which we're dealing with today with teachers and students in our schools. So
absolutely. I
really
appreciate
appreciate you.
And likewise, you know, you play a very vital role in society too for all the girls that think they gotta, you know, devalue themselves to have a positive solution to just reaching success. And I say positive solution because even with some of our most educated melanated women, they're hit with so many barriers. So, you know, keep doing what you're doing and keep advocating because it's also God's work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, Summa Our Vegas, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok for as long as it's going to be. We hope that it stays around a little longer. You can also email me at summerourmedia@gmail.com. That's SUMMEROUR media@gmail.com. And for any requests or anonymous stories or anything like that, that's the email. So take that. And of course, if you want to donate to your girls, throw her a little bit of money, help keep this operation going, you can Cash App me at Summa Our Vegas Podcast on Cash App, or you can email me if there's any other way that you would like to donate and contribute to the podcast as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you on the next episode.